Hey everybody and welcome back. It's Wednesday, which means we are talking about another muscular dysfunction. And today we are talking about runner's knee. This is something I personally have a lot of experience with. I ran track in high school and I have definitely experienced this problem myself. I'm happy to say that I don't experience it as much anymore. I have corrected it for the most part. Sometimes I fall back into my bad habits, but for the most part, I have definitely seen a lot of improvements following this routine myself, as well as making these changes. So runner's knee is also known as patellofemoral pain syndrome, or PFPS. Again, commonly called runner's knee is what we know it as. This is a pain that occurs in the anterior or the front of your patella, which is your kneecap in case you don't know, or underneath it. So right underneath kind of where your knee curves down, you might experience some pain there as well. So how do you know if you have it? Number one, you have that knee pain. Another option is some knee buckling. I know that this probably happened to a lot of us when we just randomly stand up and our knee just kind of gives out. So if that's happening more often, it could be a sign of runner's knee. Also, your knee catching. So if you move your knee in a way and you kind of feel like there's a little catch there, almost like there was like a little rubber band, you can kind of imagine it that way. That is something that happens as well as a grinding sensation. Now, I'm happy to say I have not experienced this myself. It sounds absolutely terrible. If you have experienced it, I am so sorry. It sounds very awful. So it's a grinding sensation in the joint, and this can increase during sports, running, jumping, or squatting. And prolonged sitting makes it worse. If you haven't seen my Dust Dwellers routine, I go into a whole big ordeal there about how essentially being stagnant for most of our day is really bad for our bodies. So if you want to check that out, go ahead. And what causes it is muscular imbalances and poor biomechanics. So one of the causes with muscular imbalance tends to be gluteal amnesia. I know that I talked in my gluteal amnesia video a little bit about runners and why it's important that we're using our glutes when we run as opposed to using more quad and calf. So again, that's another video you can check out, but I'll go over it briefly here as well. Basically what I want you to focus on when you're running, and it might take you a while to kind of get yourself into this new mind-muscle memory connection, but I want you to think of your patella, that kneecap, the center of it lining up with your second and third toe. So you can practice this kind of position looking in a mirror if you have a long one. I like to use little garage sale dots, you know what I'm talking about, those bright little circle stickers. Put one in the middle of your kneecap and put one right around your second and third toe. And just look in the mirror and line it up, and you're going to notice where those muscles are firing that don't normally fire and where some are relaxing. And I know that this can take time. Don't worry about doing it every time you go for a run, but I just want you to keep it in the back of your mind because that's what's going to ultimately fix this, because it is a poor biomechanic problem. So, like I said, to prevent it, we want to focus on that alignment. Patella is in line with the second and third toe. We also want to wear good shoes. It's really important to wear good shoes if you're running regularly. It's so important for your feet, your ankles, your knees, your hips, your back, etc. And make sure you're changing your shoes often. I change out my running shoes 2 to 3 months. When I am working and teaching in person in the studios, I used to change them out like every 6 weeks to 8 weeks. It's just, you go through them really quickly. Unfortunately, they're not designed to last for a super long time. So do make sure that you are getting fitted at a running store and getting shoes that are proper for you and switching them out often. You also want to warm up your glutes and your inner and outer thighs before you go for a run. That can be something as simple as doing some squats, some sumo squats, and some leg raises. Or you can follow the routine I'm about to outline for you here in just a second. If you want this routine, I would suggest probably peppering it in with your strength workouts about 2 times a week. You don't have to do it every single day if you want to. I absolutely applaud you. I'm not going to tell you no. But it's not something that you have to be doing constantly all the time. We just want to focus on strengthening these muscles that are weakened and relaxing the muscles that are overworking. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and head on back there. Okay, so all you will need for today's little routine is an exercise band. If you don't have one of these latex ones, if you have the rubber tubing or even the elastic ones, those work certainly as well. I just kind of prefer to use the the latexy ones just for therapeutic purposes generally. I just find that they have a little more extra give. They're not as much resistance, so it's more of a focus on therapy as opposed to strength. So we've got 13 exercises in total today, 4 stretches at the end to wrap everything up. We're gonna be doing 10 repetitions of each exercise. So first things first, let's go ahead and lay on down on the floor. We're gonna be laying on our backs. So go ahead and just loop your exercise band right around the arch of your feet before you get there. We're gonna go ahead and roll it on back, and my feet and my legs are in a nice tabletop position here. So I have a nice 90-degree angle at my hip and my knees. And we're just gonna do a little pressing out. So my legs are sandwiched together, just like I've got a little mermaid's tail here. If this bothers your low back, you do not have to take it as quite as severe of an angle. You can take it straight up to the sky if that feels better for you. You definitely don't have to take it out parallel to the floor or anything like that. And while this is a lot of core exercise, I mostly want you to focus on your gluteal folds, or what I like to call your smiley line. Kind of right at the bottom of your glutes there. And that's really the area that we're working mostly here. But yes, you will definitely feel it in your core and probably your quads and your glutes as well. 2 more here, and then we're gonna switch up our foot position. We're gonna go for a Pilates V. So my heels are together. My toes are about 3 inches apart. When my legs are bent up like this, my knees are about hip distance apart. So go ahead and let those knees on open, and as you press out, the backs of your knees will come together into those little frog legs, kind of. So again, still using those glutes. You're gonna feel this one a little bit more in the inner thigh as well. All right, 5 more here, and then we're gonna go ahead and ditch that exercise band. We're gonna roll over onto our side to do some side lying work for just a little bit. 3 more. Last 2. And done. Go ahead, grab that exercise band, toss it over to the side. We'll use it again in just a second. I'm actually gonna put mine on my feet so I can get it later. So go ahead, roll it on over to your side. My head is going to rest on my bicep here, just like a little pillow. Bottom leg can be bent or it can be straight, whatever is easier for you and your balance, that's totally fine. We're just gonna go for a little upper leg lift. So my upper leg is just gonna lift up just a couple inches. My top hip is never gonna come up high enough that it comes up into my rib cage. That's when we know we've lost control of that pelvis. We wanna keep it nice and neutral. So it's just about 4, maybe 6 inches, very slow and controlled here. Again, just working that outer thigh, that piriformis muscle, that glute med as well. Getting those muscles that are weak to fire and to activate to help prevent any further injury. We're halfway done here with our leg lift. We've got 5 more. After this, we're gonna stay on our sides. We're gonna go into a little bit of a bicycle movement, just kind of like you're riding up a large hill. 2 more here, and then I'll show you what that looks like. Last 1. And go ahead, bend your knee on up into your chest. I want you to dorsiflex your foot. So your foot is nice and firm, just like you're about to kick that wall behind you. And you're gonna go ahead, press it on down. Bring it back in line with that other leg. And go ahead, just a smooth bicycling motion. I want you to imagine you're standing on that bicycle. You're going up a nice tall hill in San Francisco. Make sure you're breathing here. We're halfway done. We're gonna do 1 more side legging exercise on this side after this. We're gonna go into some clams. Clams are great because they work that inner and that outer thigh at the same time. Two more here. And last one. All right, go ahead, bend both of those knees up into your chest. Legs are still stacked here. For our clams, we're gonna open that knee up towards the ceiling, but our feet and our ankles are going to stay closed, just like you've got a little butterfly wing that you're opening and closing. So go ahead, open it on up. Feet and ankles stay together, and bring it back down. By this point, you're probably gonna be feeling that right about here in your hip. I promise that we'll stretch everything out at the end, don't worry. I'm gonna show you a couple awesome stretches that I like to do with my exercise band or my resistance band. 5 more here, and then we're gonna go ahead and roll onto our back. We're gonna go into a little bridge work, working a little bit more on those glutes. Focusing on the back of the legs as well as our hamstrings. Those tend to get weakened out over time from sitting at our desk all day. And last one here. All right, go ahead and roll it on over to that back. Knees are bent, feet are flat on the floor. Feet and knees are nice and parallel with my hip bones here. We're just gonna go into a little bridge. Go ahead, bring it on up and lower it back down. Now, as you come up, if you don't feel those glutes firing, I want you to tuck that pelvis under just a little bit. So when you're down here at the floor, you'll feel that low back press into the floor. And then you'll lift up, and you should be firing in your glutes there. If you still don't feel it happening, I want you to give those glutes a little extra squeeze at the top. Sometimes that clues them into what they're actually supposed to be doing. They need a little help. That's why it's called gluteal amnesia, because they forget it's not you. It's those darn glutes. Halfway there. This next exercise, we're going to do another bridge variation. I just want you to hold this last one up at the top. 3 more, and then we're going to hold it up at the top there. We're going to hold our static bridge the whole time. We're going to go back into that clam motion, but this time using both your legs. Hold it up here for me. We're just gonna open those knees, keep those feet firmly planted. We're not rolling out onto the sides of our feet. And bring those knees back together. Perfect, 9 more here. We're going about just 4 or 6 inches from our starting position. You don't have to do anything crazy, show off your flexibility here, get those knees down to the ground by any means. It's just a small controlled movement. Again, working the insides and the outsides of those thighs as well as those glutes. Halfway there. Two more here. Last one, and then we're gonna lower back down. Perfect. Go ahead and lower it on down. We're going to go into that side lying series on our other side. Just one more time here. If you're at home, you can go ahead and roll right around. I'm just going to flip over here so you guys can still see me. Head is resting again on my biceps. My legs are stacked, or my lower leg is bent. It's up to you. You can go ahead and lift that leg on up towards the ceiling, just about 4 or 6 inches. My left side is much stronger than my right side. That tends to be the side I demo on a lot when I'm teaching in-person classes. Back when I used to be able to do that before 2020. So this side is much stronger, I've noticed. I could do this basically all day on this side. My other side is already, and still screaming from the last set we did. It's totally normal to be a little imbalanced. It's totally fine. We're just working on trying to fix those imbalances and those dysfunctions. All right, last one here. All right, go ahead, dorsiflex that foot again. Nice 90-degree angle with our ankle. Bring that knee up towards your chest and ride that bicycle right on up that hill. Doing great, guys. We're already almost done with our exercises, believe it or not. We're about halfway there. And then we'll wrap up with some nice stretches. I would never leave you without a stretch, I promise. 5 more of these bicycles. These ones might be the hardest, I think, out of all of these exercises. I think the bicycles are probably the hardest. 2 more, almost done. Last one. All right, go ahead, bend those knees together. We're gonna do that clamshell one more time. Knee up to the sky. Feet and ankles are staying stacked, of course. Halfway there. After this, we're gonna go ahead and roll onto our backs again. We're gonna grab that exercise band for one more set of exercises. We're gonna be working again a little bit more on the back of that body, a little bit more on the gluteal folds and the hamstrings. All right, last one here. And go ahead, roll onto your back. Grab that exercise band again. We're gonna loop that again just around the arches of our feet. And this time I want you to take those legs straight up towards the ceiling. Now it is up to you how much resistance you want on this band. If you want it loosey-goosey, just pull back a little further. If you want it a little tougher, hold a little closer towards your feet. Feel free to play around with it. Now we're just gonna do a little leg lift and lower. So as you're lowering your legs down, your low back should stay firmly planted into the floor the whole time. If you start to feel it arching up and peeling up towards the sky, you've gone a little too far. So just stay within your range of motion, stay with what's safe for your back. So again, this is also a little bit of core, but I want you to be focusing on doing this movement through your glutes. It starts in the glutes. Really channel that energy from that area of your body. We're going to be doing 3 different sets of these. We're going to be changing up our foot position each time. And that's actually going to change up the muscles in the legs and the glute muscles as well that we're using. Your glutes are made up of 3 different muscles. Your glute med, your glute minimus, and your glute maximus. And by doing these 3 different foot variations, I'm making sure that each portion gets equal amounts of love. All right, go ahead, bring it on up. I want you to take yourself into that Pilates V position again. Heels together, toes apart. Go ahead, lift and lower there. You'll feel that again a little bit in those inner thighs, just like when we were doing this Pilates V with our little frog pushes earlier at the beginning of our exercises. We've got one more variation after this and then we'll stretch. Five more here. You're halfway done with your little frogs. And remember, you're working on that range of motion. You're not going so high up that you feel that tailbone peeling off of the floor. And you're not going so far down that you feel that low back peeling off of the floor. This is kind of like a little Goldilocks movement. You have to find that area that's just right. Last one here. All right, go ahead, bring those legs on up. We're gonna go into a little internal rotation here. So you're going to point your toes towards each other. So your big toes should be touching or close to it like this. I know this is kind of a strange position, feels a little pigeon-toed, a little knock-kneed, but let's go ahead, lower down there. See how you feel that difference in your outer thighs, in that same piriformis muscle that we were working when we were doing that side-lying series. Completely changes up the exercise when we change our foot position. We're still using those gluteal folds, we're still using those backs of those legs, those hamstrings, but now we added on a little extra layer. We're working those outer thighs as well. Some people have told me that this foot position, they feel a little bit more in their core as well, which makes total sense because it's firing now to help you stabilize a little bit more because your footing is a little unstable. 2 more. Last one here. And go ahead, bring those feet back up. Feet are nice and parallel again. I want you to take that band and put it on the ball of your foot, right underneath those toes. Legs come up to the ceiling. Give yourself a little pull. We're gonna stretch out those hamstrings and the backs of those legs. You can point or flex your foot here if you'd like. Flexing your foot adds in a little extra calf work. Pointing is a little bit more hamstring heavy. Feel free to do both, whatever feels good for you. I want you to go ahead and leave your right foot up at the sky. Left leg is going to come down. We're gonna go for a little IT band stretch. So my band is on my right foot. I'm taking my exercise band, the rest of it in my left hand. And I'm gonna slowly take my leg cross body. Both of my glutes are staying down on the floor. My hips are perfectly parallel here. They're not hiking up at all. We're stretching our IT band here. Your IT band runs from your ilium, or those bony things you sit on, down to your tibia. So it goes all along the outside of your thigh here. So we're just stretching that IT band very, very gently. It's a tendon, so it doesn't stretch much. So this is just a couple inches. If you're not getting very much movement, do not worry about it. You're not supposed to. Go ahead, bring that foot back up to the ceiling. We're gonna take that band in my right hand, so the same hand that my band is on my foot, and we're just gonna take a nice little inner thigh stretch here. Take your leg down as far as feels comfortable for you. Again, both my hips and my glutes are staying flat on the floor. Nice deep breath here. Go ahead, bring that back on up to center. We're gonna switch feet. We're gonna do that IT band and that inner thigh on the other side one more time. Again, doing that IT band, slowly crossing that body midline, keeping both those glutes and those hip bones down on the floor. Small range of movement. Nice deep breaths here. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and do my inner thigh, taking that opposite direction. I don't have as much room on this side because I film at home. We're all just making do, right? Just imagine. All right, go ahead, bring it on up. Take that band on off. We're gonna finish up with one more exercise here. We're gonna go for a little runner's lunge. We're gonna come up onto our knees. If you need a little more cushion for your knees, you wanna double up your mat or you wanna put a little blanket, you certainly can. If this is also bad for your knees, you can totally do this move standing. Take the knees out of the equation altogether. I like it down on the floor. So one leg is gonna go forward, and we're gonna go ahead, take a nice 45-degree angle with this other leg. You can pulse it forward just a little bit. So my right leg is forward, left leg is back. I want to squeeze this left glute here. That's gonna help really open up that hip flexor right in the front. Get a nice deep stretch there. Go ahead, switch it on out. And again, don't forget to squeeze that glute. Get that nice deep hip flexor stretch. One more nice deep breath here. All right, and that is it. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope that some of these exercises were helpful and helped you learn a little bit more about runner's knee, why it happens, and how we can prevent it. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a like, a thumbs up. Please subscribe and hit that bell. You can share it with your friends that might have some runner's knee problems as well. If you would like, you can also follow me at mo_loves_Pilates on Instagram. There I do Trigger Point Tuesday videos every Tuesday, as well as fun outfit try-ons and just little tips here and there and small little snippets of workouts. If you're looking for more, I will of course link everything down in the bottom below. So thank you again so much. I can't say it enough. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you on Sunday.